Hey friends, it's Emily from Burlap Kitchen, and today we're going to craft this adorable cow cutting board cutout. So I absolutely love this one. It turned out so cute. First thing we're going to do is paint the cow with the color Vintage White. And at the beginning of the video, you seen that I showed you those two little spacers. I actually forgot to use those, but you could use them or not use them. Either way, that's up to you. So then I painted the ears as well, white. And then I'm going to come in with this chalk paint. This is like a blush color pink. So just use a pink that you like, a lighter pink. And I did the snout, I guess you would call it, or nose of the cow, and then also the bottom part of the cow. And then we're just going to sand everything once it's dry. And those are the little ears. And now I'm sanding the little snout. And then I'm going to lay the ears in place and start to draw on some little cow spots. So I'm using my black Sharpie paint effect marker for this. It makes it super easy. I love using these markers for little projects like this. And I'm just randomly drawing these little spots on. Don't overthink it. Seriously, you don't need to overthink this. Just add little spots where you think they should be. And then I did put little black hooves on the bottom of the cow. And I did lay the little snout in place just so I could kind of get that center little patch on. And then make sure everything is nice and dry before you start sanding. So now we're going to go ahead and sand everything really well. And then these little like teardrop pieces, these are like the little nostrils. So I'm just going to use my Sharpie paint effect marker for that as well. And just paint both of those and give them a good sand. And make sure they're dry. Now I'm using that same Sharpie paint effect marker to add little eyes, and I did put some whites in the center of the eyes. Next, I'm taking some Waverly Antique wax, and I'm going over the entire project with that. So the Waverly Antique wax, I get a lot of questions about that. You can get it at Walmart in the craft section. So it's not over with the regular paint, it's with the craft paints. And I'm just using a baby wipe to apply it. And then I come over to the cutting board here, and I applied that same antique wax to the cutting board. And then we're going to make sure it is good and dry, and I gave it a little sand, and then I dipped my palette tool in some white paint, offloaded it onto the wax paper, and then skimmed it over the cutting board just to give like a little rustic look. Next, we're going to start to glue this in place. Make sure your cutting board's dry first, and then we're going to glue the cow down. Now, that's where we should have put the spacers between the cow and the snout, and I forgot, but it's okay. It still turned out super cute. Then I'm going to go ahead and glue the ears in place, and then glue the little nostrils in place. This is so adorable. So then I did take some of the Dixie Belle antique wax and my little blending tool and just started to randomly apply that around the project just to give it like a little bit of texture. Next, I took some raffia. I just made a real simple bow, and I'm just going to hot glue that there to the bottom of the snout. And then I had these little cowbells. I actually found these at Hobby Lobby. So I'm going to add one of these to my project. And I just used some twine to tie it on and then glue it down. And then I made a little tag out of some craft paper and just wrote Moo on it. And I'm just cutting it into like a little tag shape. And then I crinkled it up and added a little bit of antique wax just to give it that rustic look. And I did go over it with the Dixie Belle antique wax as well. And then I'm just going to glue that in the center where I want it, like just how you want it to lay. And then I glued the bell in the center too and put a button over top both of those to hide the little mess. And then I did add some greenery. This greenery is just from a garland I had that I got at Hobby Lobby. And I'm just stuffing it in there randomly where I think it would look nice. And once we get that added in, again, I just used hot glue. Then I just added some white highlights with my white Sharpie paint effect marker. Just on the nostrils is all I added this time. And then I did go around the cutting board with that Dixie Belle antique wax. Again, just adding some texture. And then I decided to be brave and add some eyebrows to the cow, and it actually turned out super cute. I used a Sharpie extra fine point marker for the eyebrows. And then I did put a little bit of that same pink in the middle of the ear, and this turned out absolutely adorable. Let me know what you think.